A special year-end edition of The Dish this morning, 11 Madison Park and the talent behind it. The venerated New York restaurant has earned just about every possible honor. 3 stars from the Michelin Guide, 4 stars from the New York Times, and in 2017, the influential guide World's 50 Best named it the best restaurant in the world. The pair behind 11 Madison Park has slowly been expanding their reach. That includes a much less formal affair, a seasonal pop-up in Colorado.
High atop the Rocky Mountains in Aspen, Colorado, Chef Daniel Humm and his partner, Will Guidara, have taken their elevated cuisine on a winter break. Part of the menu this evening, trout meuniere, beef stroganoff, herb-crusted lamb. The dishes and the 10 outdoor tables tucked inside yurts are a nod to Humm's Swiss roots.
For the first time in my life, I get to do the food that I grew up with.
Has it been fun to be able to create this menu?
So fun.
Fun is something Humm and Guidara have brought to fine dining, even at their cathedral, 11 Madison Park in New York.
You know, there's chef-driven restaurants who invariably do what's best for the food.
Right.
There's restaurateur-driven restaurants that do what's best for the service. But we like to think that we end up doing what's best for the restaurant as a whole.
Right.
Guidara oversees a front-of-house staff of 60 who meticulously follow the details of a 110-page training guide. And they created the unique position, the Dreamweaver, who caters to a table's every need and more.
There was a table sitting over there. They were here on their way to the airport, going back to Europe. And we overheard them saying what a great trip they had. But they were lamenting the fact that they never had a New York City hot dog. And so I ran out to the hot dog cart in front of the restaurant, bought a hot dog, and brought it back to him in the kitchen. And I said, Daniel, can we serve this to them as their next course?
Your response was what?
Like, oh, you're out of your mind.
But understandably so, you know, these dishes we're about to have, it takes 3 days to produce some of these.
Right.
But he trusted me enough to know that there was probably a good reason for it.
Yeah.
And so he cut the hot dog in perfect pieces and did a swoosh of mustard and a swoosh of ketchup and a cannelle of sauerkraut. And we brought it to them and said, hey, we wanted to make sure you didn't miss out on that. And it's the beauty of what we get to do when you see the looks on someone's face when you do that.
It is that kind of service, along with Humm's craftsmanship in the kitchen, that has made 11 Madison Park a destination.
So you have the duck, that's our signature, is sort of a signature recipe.
Every dish on the menu changes every season. The only dish that never changes is the duck.
You want sauce on any of this?
At 42, Humm is considered one of the best chefs in the world.
I do sometimes feel like kind of on top of the world, for sure. And for some people, it might seem like this happened overnight, and it didn't.
In fact, growing up in Switzerland, Humm had no particular interest in food, but his mother did, insisting that they buy their produce from local farms.
And sometimes that was really annoying. This one day, she had all these vegetables covered in mud, you know, because of the rain. And she said, oh, can you wash this for me? And I was washing it like 4 times, 5 times. And then I said, why can we not buy like the lettuce in the grocery store like everyone else? And she took out a leaf and she's like, try this. And I remember the salad being so crunchy and so sweet and juicy almost. And she looked at me and she's like, this is why. And that's a lesson that I never forgot.
When he was just 14 years old, Humm left home to pursue a professional cycling career and got a job in a kitchen to make extra money.
I was a prep cook, but I had an amazing chef. And he's like, I know you're here just for a paycheck, but let me teach you how to butcher a chicken, how to make a soup, how to make a consommé, how to make a souffle, all these things. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, you don't need to show me that. I'm good.
I'm a racer.
You know?
It's okay. I'm going to be racing.
He's like, no, I'm going to teach you.
A serious cycling accident when he was 22 made him reevaluate his career path. Humm embraced his love of cooking and found work in the industry in Switzerland. When he got an opportunity to interview for a position at Campton Place in San Francisco.
Did you hesitate then?
For sure. I mean, at that point, I did not speak English. I've never been outside of Europe. All I knew at that point about America was definitely not the food that I thought myself as a chef doing. Like,
what was the food that you knew?
I mean,
I'm afraid to ask.
you know, I was open enough to come for an interview, and then I was in San Francisco, and I was brought around to the markets and the city and Napa Valley, and my mind was blown away.
Whom was wooed to 11 Madison Park by legendary restaurateur Danny Meyer, where he teamed up with Godaro. In 2010, the pair were invited to the awards for the 50 best restaurants in the world.
We barely sat down. The list starts, and they said, and number 50 in the world, new entry from America, 11 Madison Park, number 50. So that night, we felt extremely disappointed.
Even though it was a huge honor.
It was an honor, but we came in very last.
Right.
We went back to the hotel. We bottled a bottle of whiskey, honestly, and we sat out there all night until like 5 in the morning, and we came up with a plan. This is what we need to do to get to number one.
In 2011, Whom and Godaro bought 11 Madison Park, and the restaurant began to slowly climb the list until 2017, when it was named Best Restaurant in the World, a title they'd hold for just 1 year.
So how badly do you want it back now?
You know, I think there are bigger things. Let's be honest, very few people are able to ever experience 11 Madison Park.
Right.
And this shouldn't be only limited for just people who can afford to eat here. And so I think our motivation is to affect a lot more people.
Their restaurant group, Make It Nice, now has 5 permanent restaurants, including Made Nice, which has fast casual dining. It's the kind of place Will Godara expected to be a part of when he first came to 11 Madison Park more than a decade ago.
I didn't want to be here.
Really?
I didn't want to be in fine dining. And so I was only going to be here for a year, and then I was going to go work at Shake Shack. And then I got to know him. And so a year later, when it was time to change jobs, I'd fallen back in love with what was always supposed to be my life's work. And it's because of him. And so it's 13 years later
So
now.
nice.
They love food. They love each other. I love the idea. They want to make things more accessible for everyone.
I do
Think
too.
the world of them.
You know what? Shake Shack could have been number one.
I love the fact that they came up with a plan to be number one, and,
Yeah.
and they did it.
Exactly.